Hey there, this is Shraddha Sridhar. From silicon chipsets to the vast expanse of large language models, I'm helping to shape the leading edge of AI innovation. You're tuned in to The Edge of AI, the show that helps shape curious minds on what's possible in the realm of AI today and tomorrow. Keep listening.
Hello, AI podcast passengers. Jump on in. Here's what's to come on today's journey. Find out how Shraddha Sridhar's journey from silicon chipsets to large language models is like weaving a tapestry of innovation. Learn about the unexpected challenges and groundbreaking innovations she's encountered while integrating diverse AI technologies at some of the largest companies in the world. And finally, why this introvert finds human interaction to be the strangest thing about reality. All this and more, take your seat.
Welcome aboard the Edge of AI podcast. Snap into your safety belt and prepare to explore the depths of the rapidly expanding AI universe. Each episode is a dispatch featuring hyper-relevant reports from the pilots, pioneers, and passengers aboard the AI rocket ship. We explore the latest use cases and developments in AI, hear from experts building tech, and learn how this disruptive force is transforming industries and society.
Welcome aboard. I'm Ron Levy, I'm your captain for today's voyage. Just like most of you, I've embraced the spirit of exploration throughout my life, from starting my own business before graduating high school to traveling the world's most challenging terrains. I've always sought out new frontiers. I built one of the largest award-winning custom home companies, and most recently I've navigated complex regulations while founding and leading a public company that's dedicated to applying technology and training. And today we've got Shraddha Sridhar. She's a dynamic product and engineer leader with over a decade of experience shaping the AI landscape. At Amazon AI, she spearheads the development of large language models, powering conversational assistance at scale. With 4 patents to her name, Shraddha is also a key advisor to startups at Mighty Capital and Plug and Play, helping them drive innovation in AI and beyond. And to her credits is also working with Qualcomm, Walmart, and as well as Amazon. So away we go. Welcome to the podcast, Shraddha.
Thank you so much for the kind introduction, Ron. Really happy to be here.
All right, well, fantastic. So your journey through the AI landscape, it's so extensive and it's specialized. And I'm excited to dive into the nuances of your work. So your expertise spans from the microscopic world of silicon chipsets to the vast expanse of large language models. If this journey were a novel, what would you think would be the central plot twist that define that narrative?
I've always been a lifelong learner, Ron, and that's what defines my career. And I will say that my career has evolved along with my personal life. Um, I am a little uncomfortable when things get too comfortable for me and I'm not getting challenged enough. So those are naturally the inflection points when I realize that my learning is peaking and it's time for me to make a change. So the first change was when I was a hardware engineer for a few years. At the time, it was exhilarating to know that some of my inventions were in the palms of almost every smartphone user in the world. But very soon, I realized that I wanted to do more and be part of the why behind decision making in business and building products. So as I was thinking and reflecting on what my next steps would be, I happened to also meet my husband at the same time, and I found an amazing sounding board in him. And together we thought about where we wanted to be and how would that align with my career. And I realized that product management is an amazing next step for me. So went to business school and made the transition to product management. And as a PM, I didn't hold back. I explored different domains, industries, early stage startups, Fortune 1 and 2 companies, and also different stages of the product from 0 to 1 to growth stage. And that's how some of these domains that you just talked about, from semiconductor, automotive, transportation, and now conversational assistance happened. The second inflection point for me was when I stepped away for my maternity leave, and I took a longish extended maternity leave of 8 months. So when that happened, the team I left was very different from the team I came back to, because we were going through layoffs in the industry. There were a lot of organizational changes. And when I was back, I started thinking about my next steps too. And fortunately for me, we were at the cusp of the next wave of innovation propelled by transformers and the launch of ChatGPT. So I found an amazing opportunity that really threw me at the forefront of this innovation and gave me that opportunity to again work on foundational areas that would massively impact customers at scale. And here I am deploying language models for conversational assistance for Amazon customers.
I guess what I see is two parallel tracks. One is your personal life along with your professional life. You went from developing hardware, which, as you said, was in the palms of, billions of people around the world. So you obviously did a sensational job there, but it sounds like you ended up with a why. What is this really for and what's next? And that's at the same time, I'm going to combine both things, getting married and then, of course, later having a child, like changes your thinking and gets a little bit deeper. And a coincidence of timing is to make that turn at the same time that AI is going from the low level it's been when it comes to adoption into mainstream adoption. So to come back with that mindset and your, I'll call it resume, it's kind of amazing. So when you did that, what was the first jump in point you saw? Like when you jumped on the train, what was that moment that you knew you were jumping on the train at the right time?
When I realized that there was a massive potential here in terms of consumer adoption, because up until then, we were discussing AI in the context of development within research, within the research community with engineers. But now we could see consumers adopting AI at scale, experimenting with these chat interfaces and like just improving their prompting capabilities and just playing with creativity. So it was a natural moment for me to know that here is another opportunity for driving impact at scale within the confines of what I was already doing anyway. So because at the time I was working on building conversational assistants for automotive. So the next step was to just really expand it for a variety of use cases.
So, and in doing some, you've championed the crawl, walk, run methodology when it comes to AI adoption. If you could craft an analogy or metaphor to describe that approach, what would it be, and how does it resonate with the challenges in sectors like, I don't know, let's just focus on supply chain and maybe transportation?
Yes. So if you think about this crawl, walk, run methodology or metaphor, it's supernatural, right? Even a baby picks up on it on the path to independence. So it's not a path breaking inside. But when you think about applying it in the context of business, it usually goes along the lines of let's figure out how to integrate a product or a technology within the business. And how do we want to go about this? First, we'll run a few pilots, see whether it resonates with the customer. And based on the learnings of the pilot, we would then, which was a crawl stage, by the way, then you would go to the walk stage, which is scaling the pilot and actually building out some real use cases. And then in the run stage, it would be scaling use cases and really integrating the product tightly with the business. While there is nothing wrong with this approach, in the process of building products, what I've realized is it sometimes misses the core element of adoption through building human trust. And what I mean by that is you could build features for the business, but if it doesn't resonate with the end user of the product, it's going to impact adoption and hence revenue for the business over the longer term. So in the context of supply chain, I thought about how I went about building trust and basically retrofitted it into a framework, if you will, of how you would go about this methodology in the context of supply chain. So I can give you a real example to
Great.
really ground this. So let's say you're working with a supply chain manager and you want to get them to adopt a piece of technology for routing. So this supply chain manager is now responsible for creating delivery routes from a fulfillment center for delivering packages to their customers. This is an example that's close to my heart because I've spent a lot of time solving these problems, obsessing over the supply chain associates' pain points. So in this case, if you walk into the supply chain manager and tell them that here is a piece of software that's going to automate route planning for delivery of packages, what do you think they're going to say, or what are they going to think?
They're going to put their resume out somewhere else.
Yes, that's scary. But before in the process of doing so, they're also going to think that here is a piece of software that is coming for my job. It's doing part of my job, so it's just a matter of time before it completely replaces me, and hence I need to put in feelers for jobs elsewhere. So you've already turned the intended user of your product into an adversary in this process. Instead, if you flip the narrative to walk them through the process of adoption and really bring them along through a different framework, let's call it inform, assist, and automate. Again, these are terms you may have heard in the context of AI capabilities. Like there are some AI tools that are focused on informing you about some aspect of the business. And then there are tools that are helpful in assisting you, which is where all these assistants come into play. And then there are tools that help you with complete automation, which is the agents that you may be familiar with. But a crucial element is tying all of these together in order to build trust. So let's say your goal is really to get to the automation stage and really take the control off of the operator and give them the room and flexibility to solve creative challenges. If that's where you want to go, you may really have to start from the inform stage where you're giving them value in terms of, where the problems in the businesses are so that they can do their job better. Coming back to the example of the supply chain manager, you could tell them where packages are getting stuck in the network, and if there is some bottleneck that you've observed through, aggregating data, you can just tell them that, hey, there is this stage in the network where packages get stuck at the same time every day. And by the way, there is also this other part of the network that's likely causing this bottleneck downstream. So maybe you want to take action based on that and create a delivery network or create a delivery route that better addresses these bottlenecks. So now the control is still with the supply chain manager, but you've helped them with some insights that's going to help their decision making. So now you've built trust with the product, with the supply chain manager. Now you're ready to introduce additional features because they're already liking the initial set of features that you offered to them. So in the next stage, which is assist, you can actually offer some recommendations for routes to try, still keeping the control with the supply chain manager. So control is really the key here. You really can't take control away from the human, and that is a big trust buster. So once the supply chain manager keeps seeing all of these recommendations and they derive value from it, they're going to take more and more of those suggestions, and they'll reach a point where they're going to be comfortable with what the software does. And hopefully they've already found other ways to use their time better, and they've started enjoying those aspects of their job. So now that they are able to visualize what else they can do with their time, they are ready to let this piece of software take care of routing altogether. So now you've reached the automate stage. But really, instead of telling the associate that, hey, if I automate this on your behalf, you could do something else, you can really get them get them to realize that this is really possible by walking them through the process from infancy all the way to automation. Um, so this is something that has worked time and again in the context of supply chain, but you can actually replicate this in a wide variety of use cases. And what's great about the current wave of innovation is that you have many more levers at your disposal, um, in the form of, say, personality, bringing in context, bringing in personalization as you provide recommendations and build trust with the end user.
So the what you described is really important because humans are still going to have a role here for quite a long time. The thing that people are afraid of is, I would suggest, many years ahead of us. Albeit we'll be seeing change, but that same person you described, that first you described as seeing it as a threat, and then you actually described that worker as engaging, utilizing the AI to help achieve his own goals or her own goals. And the data that comes out of it, though, I'm imagining that they could actually be the ones to see the benefits to this, using that example, to the supply chain, and report those upstream and report them in a more human way. Hey, this is what was done. We did this, and starting to report gains, so they know they're still at the helm of their own ship there. And I think that might be really important. But there's also data transparency, right? So in those examples, I don't know at what level there's transparency for everyone. But in the realm of data transparency, if you're tasked with designing a data transparency manifesto, sort of what are the core principles behind that, and how does that change the AI landscape?
I would think of this question in terms of the core problems we need to solve on the path to really building AI responsibly. Going back to this associate, what do they care about as they start using an AI tool? It's the trust aspect of it, and really you can build trust through transparency. So when you're using customer data, you want to be really responsible with it and be transparent to them on how you're using their data, who has access to their data, and really let them know that they have the control to either provide or revoke access, because that control is key. Um, this becomes challenging because when you have multiple entities or companies with clear boundaries looking to share data and optimize for economic benefit, um, there may be tensions between all of these entities on how much data to share, and where do you draw the line. And then it all manifests in terms of customer experience, where you end up adding friction to the end customer experience and just providing that transparency, saying, hey, entity A is using your data in so and so manner, entity B is using your data in XYZ manner. So you keep, like, as the user onboards to use a product, you're going to see screen after screen after screen of just privacy notice and the controls, and you're even making the user take action on what to do with their data. And you may have seen examples of this when you use a website for the first time, where you're like, GDPR, CCPA dictates that we are supposed to show this notice to you, and you have control on what you want to do about this. So all of these deflect from the path of actually getting the job done. So you also want to be mindful of that trade-off between customer experience and providing the transparency they need in terms of building trust. So that's one part of it. And then there are also aspects of alignment, where when you're building AI models, you want it to be representative of the entire population and not just a subset of the population. And what I mean by that is, let's say the Western world is individualistic and focused on self-expression. Eastern culture, on the other hand, is collectivist and focuses on interdependence. And then when you bring all of these data points about different cultures together, you want to be able to represent that diversity in the data when you train models as well, so that when you're getting an output from a model, it really represents this diverse perspective and values. It's a very hard problem to solve because you need data at scale. Sorry.
it's not only a hard problem to solve, it's just going to morph. It's going to get toward the direction of being solved probably a small move at a time, a small piece at a time, and you just get better and better. I don't know that there's ever a final solution for it. You just have to really, keep your antenna up and keep going in that direction with all the changes that are going on. I want to shift a little bit, and that is, you work for Amazon. I realize that this interview you are not speaking for Amazon. I'm going to be very clear with that. But I'm going to ask a question. I'm going to also say that in the past you've worked for Qualcomm and you've worked for Walmart. So I want to speak in general, not about any individual company, but generally, how much effort and resources, and we don't have to really speak to funds as much as just, general resources. How much effort and resources are companies like this, large companies, directing toward AI specifically? And if so, is it one big initiative or is it countless initiatives?
So, in some sense, a lot of these tech companies, especially the ones I've been at, have been working on some part of the AI stack. Right? So Qualcomm has been building silicon chipsets for a long time. It's just that as our AI needs evolved, those chipsets started becoming more and more specialized. Same thing with Amazon. Like Alexa has existed for the past 10 years now, and these were all AI based experiences to begin with. So the AI investment has always been at the core of technological advancement. It's just that it's all coming to light given the consumer focus of it now versus, let's say, a few years before now.
Yeah, GPT is about to hit its second birthday, not quite yet. And if you think about, ChatGPT and how it really, change things in large respects, it's not that old. It's still an infant. So it's kind of really big. And so with that, you've had a lot of experience in advising startups. What advice would you give to emerging companies looking to leverage AI?
Yeah, I have 3 tips for founders just based on how these investment conversations have gone and seeing which startups have been successful and proceeding to the partner round to pitch and then finally get funded. The first one is surrounding the pitch deck itself and being creative in telling your story, especially in early stage startups, which is really my area of focus. You may not have all the data you need to show a hockey stick growth and really prove to all these investors that your idea is really worth it and it's going to add so much value to the society. So in these cases, you can think of a case study to conduct with your customers and really find ways to bring their voice along in your storytelling in front of investors. They're just looking for signals on why this idea has promise, and you could really get creative about how you want to tell that story. The second one was something that is the hottest topic right now, which is the founder mode. Definitely read upon Paul Graham's note on what founder mode is, which is essentially, don't be afraid to delve deeper into the details in whichever part of the company you need to. The one thing I would add is also be on the lookout for leaders and executives who also exhibit founder mindset or this founder mode mindset. What I mean by that is there are a few leaders definitely behind every product where they care deeply about the product, they care deeply about the success. No task is beneath them, and they head right towards the fire to ensure that the product is successful, the business is successful. But in doing so, quite often they end up in the, taking up the role of an orchestrator and, really flying under the radar, but because they are typically not optimizing for, optics and self-interest. So in seeking out these leaders, you may really have to look for all of those orchestrators and really invest in their talent and in them, because they can literally be the difference between a product failing and becoming a massive success down the line. The third part is really, reflect, because it's hard, when life gets crazy and, you have a million things to do, but reflection is a powerful way to get to the core of business problems and especially customer needs and their motivations. So the more you reflect, the better.
But those same startup entrepreneurs that you're describing, two ways of looking at it. One is if their initiative is to be in AI and develop something within AI, that something could be countless arenas, countless areas to chase. But for those that want to use AI, let's just say they're building a traditional company of some sort, but they want to leverage AI to do it. I know you spoke to that a little bit with the decks. Are there any things off the top of your head you can mention that are products that would really help them if they're starting a traditional company where they can use AI to do more, do a little faster?
There are several AI-backed products these days, and you can literally think of any product that a startup would use, and it would have AI behind the scenes, like Figma, for example, for design. Um, it has all of these powerful AI-backed tools for designers to just simplify, not just creating wireframes, but you can see product managers use them as well to write product requirements and whatnot. Similarly, one way I've been using AI a lot is going back to one of these tools, ChatGPT or Claude, and explaining my thought process to to the tool, and seeing if there are better ways for me to reframe that idea. And it might also help with pitch decks, just to frame the same thing that you're thinking more elegantly in a way that lands with your end customer. And then in terms of staying up to date, because these are super busy individuals, some newsletters might come in handy to just stay up to date on what's going on in the AI world. And I follow TechMeme and Ben's Bytes. So with TechMeme, I get an email to my inbox at 5 p.m. every day, and it literally takes me 5 minutes to peruse through everything that's happening in AI. And then Ben's Bytes is similar, and it also has ways for you to deep dive on areas that you are also interested in thinking through further. So those are some resources.
No, that's going to be super helpful. Let's look forward a little bit. So if you're looking ahead and you were to write a letter to your future self about the evolution of AI, what hopes and aspirations would you share that you have from this standpoint, talking to Shraddha of years down the road?
The future is hopeful, and I really hope that when we build AI has been built safely, responsibly, and we are bringing the entire society along, and it is put to use for really impactful causes and valuable causes. And what I mean by that is bringing access to education, financial independence, let's say climate change. So these are really the problems we want to solve. And by the time there is, mass market adoption, you also want to have solved for, at least to some extent, misuse of AI, where intentionally or unintentionally you prevent AI from putting out information or data out there that is really working to the detriment of a subset of the population. But all of those things aside, and once those problems are solved, you can really unleash creativity and solve for experiences that you can not even imagine yet. So that's super exciting.
So to support what you're saying, we've had the good fortune of interviewing quite a few people on this podcast, and a lot of them are developing AI to problem solve exactly what you just described. So it's AI going down the tracks for productivity and all this great new stuff that people are seeing it can do. But then there's products to prevent from deep fakes and things like that. It's AI you can access to say, hey, how do we keep this one in line? So it's being developed on both sides, and that's kind of the magic. And of course, that gets a little less headlines, but it's very, very important.
It's super important. Yeah, it forms the backbone of what you can actually build and scale, right? So it's yeah,
That's
for
right.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, over the next decade, how do you envision your own role in shaping the narrative of AI based on all this?
So I've always enjoyed working on and in shaping the foundational aspects of the next piece of technology that's going to unlock a lot of value for customers. And in this case, I do want to work on solving the second category of problems that we just discussed in terms of AI safety, and also use multimodal capabilities in a really exciting way, because I do feel that it is the most natural form of interaction that mimics human cognition. So that's another space that I'm really looking forward to delving deeper into.
I have no doubt we're going to see your name in and around that for years to come. So that's kind of fantastic. So, this for me, it's been an incredible conversation. I thank you very much, Shraddha, um, for taking your time. Don't think we're done with you yet, because we're not. But your insights, they're going to inspire our audience and spark new ideas. So this is part of what you're doing in the industry. But right
Thanks.
now, we're gonna head for AI Wants to Know, and that's based on the fact that AI is curious, and so are we. These are 10 quick questions. They're designed to uncover the intriguing human mysteries that we're all wanting to know about you personally, more than just AI itself. They're meant to have shorter answers, so we can just hit them hard. But if there's anything you want to elaborate on, don't hesitate. You ready?
Yes.
All right. Well, what's the first thing you ever remember being proud of?
My brother, and how outgoing and social he was. I took no credit, but it was incredibly exciting to see him make so many friends right from the beginning, formative years, and I remember feeling super proud of being his sister.
Is my takeaway that you are not outgoing?
I am more of an introvert, yes.
Okay.
I've always preferred thinking deeply and listening before talking.
What is it that you need help with that you wish you did not?
Oh, navigation. Um, yeah, the number of mistakes I make in navigation, it's embarrassing.
Well, I think you've worked in and around companies that solve that for you, so I think you're doing pretty good. What do others often look to you for help with?
Crisis management. So
Oh,
usually when you do not know where to start, when there is a mess to deal with, they typically come to me for the right questions.
that goes right back to the fact that you listen first. So,
Oh yeah, thank
yeah,
you.
yeah, it's always a strength to search for the right question before you search for the answer. So, just a personal belief. What is it that you treasure most about your human abilities?
Creativity and empathy to be able to form deep relationships.
Wow. And throughout your whole life, what is the most consistent thing about you?
Uh, Curiosity and wanting to learn and apply it in different ways.
All right. Well, how about the opposite of that? Throughout your life, what has changed the most?
The domain I've worked in, and also the locations. So I've lived in like 5 different cities in the past 10 years.
Can I ask you where we find you now?
On LinkedIn, I am
You don't have to get physically specific, but I was curious what part of the world, but that's okay.
in San Francisco Bay Area. So I've lived here since 2018.
All right, fantastic. So, what do you find strangest about reality?
Oh, that it is shared and also incredibly personalized. So you and I could watch the same movie and walk away with multiple different experiences. You could find it boring, and I could find it life altering.
Wow, great answer. And when most recently do you remember that feeling of being alive?
Oh, actually, this weekend, when my toddler said his favorite sentence, and it included, "This is my mommy. I love you, mommy."
Ah, congratulations. That's
Thank
fantastic.
you. Thank you.
Super great. What do you find and that you believe is your most unique trait?
Yeah.
I would say learnability and just being willing to learn and listen and adapt.
Hmm. And if this one will throw you for a loop, if you weren't human, what would you be?
A fish in the sea, I would think, because I just sea or the ocean. I just love the ocean.
All right. Well, that's why California suits you well.
Yes, it does.
So there's three different sections we're going to hit. You actually touched on them already. Feel free to answer those same answers, and we can reinforce it for our listeners. But it's going to be AI leaders and influences that have influenced you. Then we're going to hit AI resources. So it's resources that you use that you can share with our listeners, and then actual tips of things they can use right now that might benefit them. But we're going to break them up a little bit. So let's go with AI leaders and influences. Are there any that come to mind that you'd like to share?
Oh yeah, many actually, and I follow them in different social media. Uh, so the first one would be Jan LeCun, and then there's Andrew Ng, Fei Li. They all focus on different aspects of just developing AI, from, let's say, human-centered innovation to educating the next generation of folks and sharing contrarian approaches on how to build AI. But really, I have learned a lot in terms of building AI from a unique source who is Yuval Noah Harari. I'm a big follower of his writings. And in one of the books, just Sapiens, he talks about how language and complex thoughts formed the basis of humans evolving over time and becoming the dominant species. And now we are seeing that in the context of AI development, as you're bringing in multiple modalities and so on. So those are some leaders who've had a lot of influence on me and my thinking.
Can you spell his name for us again?
Yuvalnoah Harari.
Fantastic. Certainly we're tracking down. Sounds really, really, really great. And I don't want to butcher this quote, but someone said this. It might have been a guest on our podcast, actually, that until now, we have been the only beings that can actually analyze our own brains. Right? It's kind of fascinating. But AI is going that direction, or able to do that, between machine learning and AI itself. And I find that an interesting transition.
Absolutely, yes. And there can be a lot of benefits from that too. Think in terms of medical diagnosis, right?
Yep. So AI resources, you hit on a couple earlier. Is there anything more you want to say about that or not?
Sure. So those were some of the newsletters that I would follow, and then really on prompting. So you could, really refer to some of the resources out there. You could just Google and find ways to prompt, and just focusing on writing better prompts will really help, elicit better responses from the model. And one tip I would give there is focus on how the model has been trained and try to stick to that paradigm when you're prompting.
Interesting. Can you prompt that model to help you describe how they've been trained?
You could find out, yes, but I haven't seen to what extent the model will give me. But good prompt for me to go explore.
Well, I thought that was a great tip, because I'm personally, and I use a lot of models, but I never thought about finding out how they were trained in order to get better responses from them. And I think that in itself is a great tip. So I think that's really good. And just using them more and more. I mean, prompting is an art form, really. And the only way to really get better at it is to keep doing it and always go a level deeper, is what I say, right? You think you've got the answer. What would your next question be?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Any AI tips that you want to mention, things that tools out there that people could use they may not already be aware of?
Oh, there are a million tools at this point, that focus on different aspects of AI.
Sure.
But really, for me, the way I use these tools is like it's usually a combination of multiple things. Like, for example, I love drinking coffee, so I use Filtru, which is not necessarily an AI tool, or it might be the way depending on how you look at it. And then so that gives me the roast levels, my track my preferences, and gives me ways of really making coffee. And then I augment that with, let's say, Claude or ChatGPT, and really find out more about the origins of coffee, and get deeper into the places where these coffees originated, and that gives me ideas about where to travel next.
Where's the best place? This has been so great. Where's the best place or best way people can follow you, what you're working on, and what you've got in mind for what's next?
Oh yeah, you could find me on LinkedIn, but also this is the first time I'm sharing so broadly. So you've inspired me, Ron, to continue to share. So I'm considering Substack, but whichever way I go, I'll definitely post on LinkedIn.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate your coming here and taking your time out from these companies and projects that are at such elite levels. So thank you very much, Shraddha. I really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, and really appreciate this opportunity to share. I enjoyed it too.
All right. Well, it's time for another safe landing at the outer edges of the AI universe for today. This is your Captain Ron, and on behalf of the entire crew, I'd like to thank you for choosing to voyage with us today. We wish you a safe and enjoyable continuation of your journey. When you come back aboard, make sure to bring a friend. We've always got room for more. And if you're listening, go to Spotify or iTunes right now, rate us, say something great. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, join over 135,000 other followers of Edge of by hitting the subscribe button. Pass this episode along to a friend or two. You can now catch us on Myco IQ, and that's myco.iq, where you can watch and earn for your time and attention. And don't forget to visit us at edgeofai.xyz, where you can learn more about partnering and subscribe with the Outer Edge newsletter for the latest Edge of company news, events, and show drops. In addition, connect with us on all the major social platforms by searching for edgeof_AI, and you can join all those great conversations that are happening online. But before we sign off, mark your calendars for our next voyage, where we'll continue unraveling AI's mysteries and advancements. And until then, bye-bye.
Bye.
The views and opinions expressed on Edge of AI reflect solely those views and opinions of the show hosts and its guests. Please make sure to do your own research. While we make every effort to ensure that the information about AI technology is accurate and up to date, we cannot guarantee its accuracy, completeness, or timeliness. We make no representations or warranties of any kind with respect to the information, products, or services discussed. Please be aware AI may occasionally generate incorrect or misleading information and produce offensive or biased content. Under no circumstances shall we be liable for any loss or damage, including, without limitation, indirect or consequential loss or damage, or any loss or damage arising from loss of data or profits arising out of or in connection with the use of technology discussed on our podcast. Additionally, our show is not financial advice. You understand that you are using any and all information available on or through this podcast at your own risk. Whenever making financial decisions, we recommend doing your own research and talking to your accountant for financial advice. Lastly, time to time, we may feature sponsored content on the show for which we receive value, and we may share links for which we receive a commission if you make a purchase through one of these links. Refer to our website, edgeofai.xyz, for our full disclaimer, terms and conditions, privacy policy, and copyright notice.